Okay, hi everyone. Welcome back to our series of webinars. And today we are having the Global Forum on Gaza Reconstruction, Smart, Sustainable, Resilient, and Peace Oriented Futures. So, as usual, this webinar is being organized jointly by the Global Ambassadors of Sustainability and the Global Green Chamber of Commerce. And now I'm inviting Ms. Michelle Thatcher for opening remarks. So, the floor is yours, Michelle.
Thank you so much and welcome everyone. We are so honored to have you today for this very special session. Today, we will gather extraordinary experts from across disciplines, entrepreneurship, urban planning, governance, engineering, design, and humanitarian logistics. All coming together for a united common purpose to reimagine Gaza's recovery through sustainability, innovation, and hope. So each presentation reflects not only technical expertise, but also a human vision, rebuilding lives and communities with dignity, intelligence, and care. So welcome everyone. We're so honored to have you joining us today. And I want to make note that this is a special session that we're having today, but next week on November 20th, we will have our 30th International Talk. So please make note of that and join us for that next session. And just as usual, we're going to take one moment, knowing there's so much struggle in this world. There's so many challenges on both the international, national, and also personal side that each one of us might be having impact us on a daily schedule. So let's just take one moment of silence right now to give peace, love, and kindness out there to the world. Thank you so much. And let's bring that forward to each of our speakers today, as usual. And also a friendly reminder to our audience out there on LinkedIn, we encourage your participation. We want to hear your thoughts and reactions and insights. And really, this is about dialogue. Let's reimagine the way things can go forward in the future. So right now, please share where you're joining us from. Both your city and country is wonderful. And just keep in mind that this is a space for open, inclusive, and uplifting dialogue. And we would not be here today without Dr. Bassam and the Global Ambassadors of Sustainability. And I will pass it back over to you, Dr. Bassam. Thank you so very much for everyone joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michelle, for these opening remarks. And now we start with our guest of honors. And I'm inviting Prof. Hassan Abu Jarad, the president of Gaza University, for his remarks. So the floor is yours, Prof. Prof. Hassan, can you hear us? You are muted. Okay, so I think we start with our guest of honor, the second guest of honor, Prof. Rabia Binti Ahmed. Prof. Rabia is the Deputy Vice Chancellor of University Tuan Hussein on Malaysia. So the floor is yours, Prof. Rabia.
Thank you, Dr. Wisam. First of all, Assalamualaikum and a very good evening. Good evening to Gaza. I feel honored to be invited here to give perhaps to share my experience. I hope that whatever that been shared here is not related to civil engineering, green environments, because of my background is computer science, and I would like to share with to all my friends in Gaza, those who are involved in rebuild Gaza, especially for the developments area, the most important thing is we have to be responsible in providing the best education to the kids, teenagers, to our friends in Gaza. So that's why this evening, I'm going to share my view if we can be together for infinity excellence, and we build what we call it as virtual TVET at Gaza. So TVET means Technical Vocational Education and Training. And my terms for this evening is virtual TVET, and it is Gaza. And I'm from University Tun Hussein on Malaysia. Now currently holding a post Deputy Vice Chancellor Research and Innovation. However, my expert is on cybersecurity, and I'm also would like to thank Gaza University for having me as visiting professor 2 years ago in teaching the kids computer security and cryptography. So of course, I know that we everyone know in the world, um, Gaza is facing such a challenge currently. Challenging. Need to be together. Need to make sure that having a strength, a new way, a strategic plannings, etc., or whatever that you call it, to make sure that the ecosystem for education can be as normal as before the incidents happened. So that's why the most important thing, the relationship, build the trust, and then of course leaderships. That's basically known by those who are policymaker. But in terms of to build the virtual environment, we have to make sure that the ecosystem need to be perfect and sit at the place at the we must have a perfect ecosystem with effective infrastructure, and we know what to put online, what not to put, whatever materials we must prepare before we run the virtual training, the virtual TVET, TVET education and training. Why I'm focusing for TVET? Because of in the future, not in the future, currently, the talent market for highly skilled, in the market, the global market, they require highly skilled talent. So that's why it is a must for every country, not just for Gaza, to produce a highly skilled talent. So that's why for this evening, my focus is for Tibet. I mean, how to come up with a effective infrastructure, ecosystem, and finally run what we call it as virtual Tibet. So I'm not going to take a longer time, but this is just from my experience. So I put it in a very simple notes, but perhaps all of the audience in front of me here, maybe you can bring the notes, bring back the notes, and then think of something in the future. Okay. Of course, we need to have, very good communication, coordinated collaboration before we initiate the blueprint, the plan, and etc. And then we go for execution. So, in terms of, to come up with the best ecosystem, the best infrastructure, we must have the best talents. So we can get, we need to have, come up with a mechanism how we can get experts from all over the world. So we can use UNESCO, for example, UNESCO, UNIVOC, or any members from any countries. We can, come up with maybe friends on Facebook, okay? And then based from that, we can have an idea how we can come up with a virtual. As what we did 2 years ago It's just visiting professor but virtual. And then from that we can improve the academic program, run run using learning management system. But learning management system, maybe we can share. We can get support from any vendor or any university by having a very good by having a good partner through MOU or MOA. Okay, right. So sorry for the spelling mistake. We can have TVET at Gaza, but first of all, TVET at Gaza by launching virtual TVET. So how the virtual TVET can be done? First, we must have learning management system. Okay, of course, we need to have a physical infrastructure, but uh, to be more green, maybe we can do over the cloud. Okay, so like what we have now, but the learning management system, maybe we need another session, very specific session, um, to discuss. Okay, we can run maybe a simple module like coding. I mean, to be aligned with the market needs, maybe we can start a simple AI coding, or maybe we can start with a simple how to perfectly use ChatGPT to improve skill in code development. So we can set up virtual lab by cutting cost, perhaps infrastructure and what's not, by sharing through the clouds or some other things lah. Maybe we can discuss later on that. So yes, we can start the discussion through like webinar, virtual team, TVET virtual team, TVET webinar, or TVET and NGO and so on. And then our focus, not just for coding, perhaps some other skill that might spark interest to the kids, because of this is to rebuild the skill talent, so that the feel to learn, the feel for the spirit for education, um, not can easily be embedded to every kids that because we have to look after them, we have to give them education, but at the same time, we have we face a lot of challenge, especially when preparing for infrastructure. So that's why by introducing the best virtual learning is, I think, the most important. Maybe we can put as a priority. And secondly, why TVET? Because of by having more, by introducing or producing highly skilled talent, it is, well, as part as a mechanism, perhaps to produce more graduates, more experts, and so that we can improve, we can give impact to the economy. So that's why we have to be together, be connected for the benefit of benefit of excellence to Gaza, and against by be together we can have infinity excellence. So I skip the rest, and I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Rabia, for these remarks. And I'm inviting now Prof. Hassan Abu Jarad, the rector, the president of Gaza University, for his remarks. So, Prof. Hassan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Wissam. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا وحبيبنا Muhammad. In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, respected organizers, and dear friends, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's with profound gratitude and deep emotion that I join you today at this global forum on Gaza Reconstruction. I thank you, Dr. Wissam Al-Madhoun, the global ambassadors of sustainability and the Global Green Chamber of Commerce for this great initiative and for their enduring commitment to Gaza and its people. Today, I speak not only as the president of Gaza University, but as a voice from a land where every stone, every classroom, and every heart carries the story of resilience. In Gaza today, education stands among the greatest casualties of war. Hundreds of schools and universities lie in ruins. The remaining classrooms are turned into shelters, libraries into rubble, and dreams into uncertainty. Tens of thousands of students are deprived of a basic right, the right to learn, to think, and to hope. We must recognize that rebuilding education is not secondary, but it is central to Gaza's recovery. Without education, my dear friends, reconstruction is incomplete. Without schools and universities, there can be no sustainable peace. We need to rebuild minds as we rebuild walls. Our first priority in Gaza must be an immediate intervention to reconstitute and reopen schools and universities for the students. This includes rapid establishment of safe temporary learning spaces equipped with digital connectivity and renewable energy solutions. 2. Emergency rehabilitation of educational facilities, prioritizing institutions that serve the largest number of displaced students. 3rd, support for teachers and academic staff who continue to educate under unimaginable conditions. This can be done by covering the students' fees, especially when the university provides online education for the students free of charge in a time the university depends mainly on the student fees to pay for salaries and running costs. This will enable the universities, the staff, and their families to stay alive and resilient. My dear friends, for over 24 months, none of our employees, referring to our academic staff and administrative staff, has received his salary. We need psychological programs to heal the trauma of students and educators, because rebuilding a mind is as vital as rebuilding a classroom. Yet, our goal must not only be to rebuild what was lost, but to build better, smarter, greener, and more resilient educational institutions. Let us imagine a Gaza where solar-powered schools light up even when the grid goes dark. Digital classrooms connect Gaza's youth to the world. And finally, green campuses become hubs of innovation, sustainability, and peace education. Dear colleagues, this is not a dream. It is an achievable plan when we unite knowledge, technology, and human will. Ultimately, the reconstruction of Gaza's educational system is not merely a technical challenge, it is a moral responsibility. Even rebuild school, every rebuilt school is a message to the world that hope cannot be bombed and learning cannot be silenced. Let education be Gaza's pathway to peace, where every classroom becomes a sanctuary of knowledge, dialogue, and dignity. To our partners and friends around the world, your solidarity, expertise, and resources are urgently needed. Invest not only in bricks and cement, but in brains and futures. Let us together craft a new model for post conflict construction, one that sees education as the cornerstone of sustainable peace. My dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, reconstructing Gaza is not just about rebuilding a place, it is about restoring a people's capacity to dream. And when we rebuild a school, we rebuild the future. May this forum mark the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter of cooperation, creativity, and compassion for the children and youth of Gaza and for humanity at large. Thank you and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sorry, I couldn't
Thank you.
open the, sorry, I couldn't open the camera because the internet connection is very, very weak. So you might have seen that I was disconnected from you several times. So I wish I could have, delivered my speech to you face to face. But just we are moving around the weak internet connection, and I'm very, very glad to share you this very, very important event. Hopefully that we will see you all in Gaza to start reconstructing the educational system and enabling the Palestinians to get back to on track and to have their role in building not only Gaza and Palestine, but the entire Middle East and many parts of the world. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prof. Hassan, for enlightening remarks. And now I'm inviting, I'm sorry. So now I'm inviting Engineer Osama Saadawi. And Engineer Osama, he was the former Minister of Entrepreneurship and Empowerment in Palestine. So the floor is yours, Engineer Osama.
You're on mute.
حسن مستمعين.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, GGCC and Dr. Wissam for this kind invitation. I'm honored to be part of this very special forum. Due to the still ongoing genocide in Gaza, and what has been there, we paid human cost, very costly, around 200,000 fatalities, including approximately 70,000 documented deaths, 10,000 missings, and many other indirect fatalities due to collapse of the healthcare system. And still, the latest reports showed around 180,000 injuries, including over 5,000 Palestinians who have lost limbs since October 2023. That lead us to how to build. I think we have to build not just structures, but hope and peace. And after the sincere words of Dr. Hassan, it's very difficult to start. He's living the case in Gaza. Another burden now we are facing is the societal collapse in Gaza, and we have to be very sincere in describing what is going on to put suitable cure. Now, more than 2 years of shattered education, SMEs, agriculture, industry, all sorts of economic and social life is disabled. We have total collapse of Gaza economy with around 83% shrinkage of the economy, and about 100 of the percent of the population are relying on humanitarian aid. At such shrinkage scale, it's very difficult to remedy such effect. Indeed, the damage is very sincere, and I think it's irreversible. Unprecedented destruction with almost 84% of structure either damaged or totally destroyed. And we noticed a few cities like Rafah, Beit Hanun, and maybe very soon Jabalia totally disappeared, and the eastern villages of Khan Yunis. The reconstruction cost is estimated at 70 billion US dollars. In past, we were in around 1.2, 1.4 in the escalations 2014, 2008, and 9. And till now, those damages were not repaired, to be honest. So another problem is the severe breakdown of the social cohesion, leading to increased violence and crime. A profound loss of faith in the international system is very deep in our souls. We lost the trust with the international community and litigation platforms like the UN, like the International Court of Crimes. I'd like to highlight what was happening before the October 2023. Yes, we lost almost everything in 2023, but even before this date, Gaza was not okay. The economy around 45% unemployment, soaring to 60% for new graduates, with a 64% poverty rate. In terms of infrastructure for IT, it was outdated, and we are noticing the problems right now. It's still 2G technology due to the prevention of the Israeli occupation from the entrance of the suitable technology to Gaza. And even in the West Bank, it's still 3G, and it's not allowed to be modernized. In terms of youth and education, very little and very limited youth inclusion in decision maker was there, and low regard for vocational and technical education, with high demand for remote work and co-working space, indicating a drive for connection. And many institutions built on that. For instance, Gaza Sky Geeks was doing very good work, and UCAS in the University College in Gaza. The entrepreneurial ecosystem, it was underdeveloped system, hampered by an unattractive legislative environment for investors, especially external investors. The education system did not support innovation. Did not support education as it's not modernized. It's not tackling the new challenges the world is facing right now. Let's say fourth industrial revolution, the climate changes, and renewable energy, and insufficient enablers, especially in Gaza. We have only two functioning incubators. The PETA was almost closed, but UCI, very limited interventions, and UCAS at the University College, and poor ICT infrastructure, as I said before. And another issue is the critical lack of venture capital in Gaza, VC. Most of the funds available were grants, and we know in entrepreneurship, grants is not the key word. It's not the solution. The strategic response as a result of the size and mass of the destruction. First, in terms of youth and entrepreneurship, we need a sincere community and youth participation to ensure participation in all stages from planning to execution and monitoring. Empowerment of youth have to be central, and we have to deal with youth as a solution, not as a passive recipient of AIDS. Education and higher education, we need, as my colleagues said, we have to restore very fast classrooms and services, and to integrate digital tools and modern educational methods, shifting from instruction to facilitation, align curricula with local and global market needs with a strong focus on STEM, future-proof education by incorporating future challenges like climatic changes, clean tech, and fourth industrial revolution. And at last, in that topic, I would highlight the importance of establishing a research center for AI in order to develop a proper AI curricula and be responsible for international knowledge exchange with global universities and to facilitate AI scholarships for top students. And to develop the entrepreneurial ecosystem, we need to develop, as I said before, the education to prioritize critical thinking and problem solving, and that have to include curricula, teacher, and the learning environment, and develop a robust enablers, including business incubators, accelerators, and innovation centers, and to establish VC funds for partnership built on partnership basis, not neither grants nor loans, and to enact startup act to incentivize and protect external investors and global exposure to youth through connecting with international events and network. For decent job creation, I'd like to propose to create in the early stages of recovery, free co-working spaces with transport support for youth, and to promote, as you said, all TVET programs, and to establish a coding academy. We already started one in 2 years ago, and unfortunately it was not sustainable, and it did very well achievements indeed. More than 80%, 87% of the graduates have a job immediately after completing their training, and to proper fintech solutions and unified payment gateway. You know all what is going now in Gaza. The market collapsed almost from the deficit of cash, and it's cash basis now, and it's really needed to have fintech solutions. In terms of SMEs development, we need to provide affordable subsidized loans and for small businesses, and enhance business management and operational skills, and advocate for open borders to enable free movement of goods and people. In terms of the smart construction, we leverage advanced technologies, including AI accelerated construction to reduce the costs and increase efficiency, and to implement data-driven planning using reliable data and AI to assist needs, optimize resources, and accelerate decision making. and to build a resilient advanced IT infrastructure and invest in sustainable and independent power solutions. The last word I would like to talk about, we have two parallel tracks in the near future. The track of reconstruction, which is supposed to tackle sustainability and relief. The relief will continue. The question how to link between these two parts, because resources are spent on the relief and aid, and it's not for the sake of the sustainability. Here comes, I believe, the urban planning. The proper urban planning can serve as a bridge between the two tracks. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Engineer Osama, for this lighting sharing and the all these perspectives on the current scenario and the previous condition in Gaza. So now we are moving to the next speaker, Prof. Khalid Jalal Ahmed. And Prof. Khalid, he is a professor at the University, the United Arab Emirates University. So the floor is yours, Prof. Khalid.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wissam, and thank you, Michelle, for introducing us and moderating this very interesting, very important, you can say, platform for discussion about a very dear part to our all hearts, Gaza. I'm going to talk in link with the last statement of the previous speaker, Engineer Osama, about the need for urban planning to help us to correlate between redevelopment, reconstruction, and sustainability. For me, when I was invited to present an idea about this, resilient urban planning, I thought automatically about the how can we make the local community, you can say, autonomous. So it is not actually relying on any, as much as possible, I mean, resources to create a vivid, a sustainable society that is self-sufficient. Self-sufficient in terms of food, self-sufficient for energy, social activities, and also it caters for the safety and security of the population. We all know that the local community is the blockstone of the district, and the district is leading to the whole city. So if we started thinking about how can we make this local community entity in terms of its urban planning to be self-sufficient, we are going to really have a good step towards achieving the resilience and the sustainability on various social, economic, and environmental front. I even put here a very interesting image from a book dated back, I think, 2000, about the eco neighborhood, in which this idea of autonomous community started to, attract attention. If you look to this sketch here, you'll find that the thought is, how can we utilize renewable energy, solar radiation, local food and goods, local building supplies, composite and recycled materials, so local employment, even we look for that. So we are really thinking about this nucleus or the brickstone of our urban planning to be such autonomous and self-sufficient. So what I'm going to do here is very briefly, because of the time limitation, to share some ideas about that. About the key components. What are the key components to help us when we are thinking about the redesign or reconstruction of the neighborhoods in Gaza? So local resources management is very important. We need to provide the resources locally, and we need to manage them locally as well. If you look to this sketch here, it is not only just this small size conventional solar panels. We are going to need the most efficient and the largest possible area with the proper inclination angle and direction to help harvest this solar radiation and convert it into electricity. So we are not actually in need anymore for cables from here or there to provide electricity as the main energy resource for the local community. Also for water, we have all seen this now air harvesting of water from the humidity of the air itself. We have now very different sizes devices that can harvest or can capture the drinking water out of the air. So we can think about that despite the other resources for the provision of water locally, like the wells and maybe water desalination and something like that. Food is very important. And actually, when we talk about food production, all the people now are talking about urban agriculture. So urban agriculture now, I think, if we are talking about the most in need place for urban agriculture, it will be Gaza. People are in need of food. So why we are not actually having the food produced locally as well? This takes me to another point, is from gray to green infrastructure. We have all seen this discourse about GI or green infrastructure. When we think about a neighborhood, we don't think about just some buildings built here or there. We need to think about the blue infrastructure, the green infrastructure, to be as green corridors linking all the neighborhoods together. This is going to not only enhance the environmental aspect, but also all these green spots or bucket parks can be productive of food. So we have, for example, you might have a community large farm that is producing food and also other, source of vegetation. And at the same time, you are going to think about this hierarchical spaces to be also productive of food. So the think about the green infrastructure needs to go hand in hand with the gray infrastructure when we think about the reconstruction. Also, micro mobility. People now all over the world are relying more and more on sustainable means of commuting. And the micro mobility, we need to think about that when we are creating this mobility network. For example, the e-scooters, the cycling, and all this stuff. We shouldn't repeat the mistakes of relying on the private car or some public transportation. We need to create this permeable network that allow people to use the micro mobility, either motorized or cycling, and this is going to again cater for sustainability. Mixed use development is and the dense actually urban form is needed because we are not actually now in a luxurious situation that might avail urban sprawl. We know that Gaza used to be actually condensed, but we need to make it mixed use in a proper manner. It shouldn't be just condensed in terms of, for example, residential areas. We need to study while we are redeveloping the neighborhood to be correctly planned to be mixed use and to provide much less commuting distance and walking distance, and to be actually sufficient and help in the provision of the community needs. This is very interesting sketch I found, and I see it actually expressing this idea of social resilience. We all aware of the environmental resilience and how can we have construction systems and the materials that are capable of resisting natural disasters and all this stuff. But also social resilience is what we are really in need of. And you might notice that we have this overlap between the themes now. We talked about the urban farm, collective or community urban farm. This is one of the means of not only securing food for people, but creating social bonds. Because as you can see, especially in this very hard times for our people in Gaza, they need this mutual interdependence, mutual aid, and the relationship to be very strong among the neighbors. So when we think about the reconstruction of the neighborhood, we need to put social resilience in our mind in terms of the provision of social nodes, the allowing people to collaborate. For example, if we have multi-story residential block, we can use the roof as urban farm as well, or vertical farm, which is again we allow all the neighbors to collaborate in order to produce food through these facilities. So this is not only the provision of social interaction and or food, but also the jobs and the source of income. So within this neighborhood, we can have a market in which all these produced, locally produced product could be sold to the people with very, affordable prices. The final thought I would like to share with you about this idea of autonomous community is how can we rethink about the safety and security? We all, based on the figures that the previous colleagues mentioned about how fatality were terrible and so on, because people couldn't find shelter. And let us be frank here. If we are in such situation, we need to, while we are reconstructing the communities in an autonomous manner, we need to think also about the shelter that can help people to save their lives during, for example, any unstable circumstances. So the usual thought of urban security by urban surveillance is valid. We all know in the first figure above here, you can notice that this urban surveillance, how can we provide the sense of safety and security? But also beside that, if you look down here, you need to provide some sort of well-protected basements for the all the people to go to have it as a protected shelter when they need to do so. So this is just some very brief ideas that in terms of time, I just would like to share with you. And thank you again for listening. But before I conclude, all my colleagues agreed that without all the community participation or all the community involvement in a genuine manner, nothing of these theoretical thoughts could be successful. So we need to bring all the people together. We need to bring the NGOs together. We need to listen to each other. We need to find solutions that are really in benefit for the local communities. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prof. Khaled, for these interesting ideas and concepts. And now we are moving. Now we are moving to the next speaker, Engineer Ma'moon Seso. And Engineer Ma'moon, he's a senior advisor specializing in conflict-affected areas. So the floor is yours, Engineer Ma'moon.
Oh, thank you very much, Dr. Wissam, for hosting me here. I'll be try to be brief for the short period. And thanks to the previous speaker, because he made my life easier and he discussed so many points that I was about to discuss. Now, speaking on the envisioning Gaza future, smart infrastructure, sustainable communities. As you know, the devastation of Gaza is very huge. It's unprecedented in the history of Gaza and mankind. According to the Professor Rogers from University of Bradford, the devastation in Gaza is equivalent to 6 Hiroshimas. Imagine 6 Hiroshima bombs over a country. It's a huge devastation. So far, 12% of Gaza population either killed, injured, or missing under rubble. This is a huge number. Imagine 12% of Egypt, you talk about 14 million. 12% of Turkey, you talk about 10 million. This is a huge number on the scale of Gaza. Now, the devastation and the infrastructure and property is very huge as well. Latest damage assessment talk about 56.6 billion in a very small, tiny place called Gaza. 92% of housing units affected by war. So far, we have 1.5 million people without houses. 81% of all structures were damaged. The rubble, latest estimate, we have 61 million tons of rubble. To make it easier to understand, this equivalent to 15 of Giza pyramids or 25 of Eiffel Towers. So the devastation is very huge, and that's why it takes much of efforts to rebuild Gaza. Speaking on the future, on sustainable peace, of course, Gaza was subjected to a series of wars, and Gaza was under a continuous cycle of destruction and reconstruction. This has to stop. I remember in 2008-9, it was the first war in Gaza. I worked with EU. Some units got distracted. Uh, we restructured. Then after 2 years, 2012, we have another war. What we have reconstructed already reconstructed again. We reconstructed it again after 2 years and after 4 years. And very often we have cycle of reconstruction and destruction. So Gaza needs a sustainable peace. Otherwise, all the reconstruction efforts will be in vain. Now, what changed at the conceptual level? Before we used a concept called Build Back Better. We used it in the war 2014. Build Back Better, as all of you know, it's a post-disaster reconstruction approach. The focus is on restoring what was lost while reducing previous vulnerability. Now we are moving to Build Forward Better. This is the new concept of the United Nations. Building Forward Better is a more progressive, future-oriented framework. The focus here on transforming systems, not just restoring them. So we are speaking over the past 2 years with the United Nations, with other agencies. We are working heavily, preparing different reconstruction plans and detailed plans. We include different elements like smart infrastructure, renewable energy, modern transport system, sustainable housing, green urban planning, green reconstruction, and so on. So many concepts is being discussed and included in our future Gaza reconstruction plans. On the de-development, historically, since the Israel occupied Gaza, Gaza was under deliberate, continuous Israeli policy of de-development. And if you read the famous Sarah Roy, you know more about the Israeli policy of de-development of Palestine, including Gaza. Today, according to the UNDP, the impacts of war have set back the development in Gaza by 69 years. If you look at the development indicators in Gaza now, it's similar to indicators 70 years ago. This is a huge devastation and development. And this means the development in Gaza needs heavy investment. Speaking on the planning, of course, the destruction and devastation is very, very bad, but it gives us an opportunity for replanning. The master plan of Gaza was obsolete. This was developed 1995 when the PA came to existence. Since then, the master plan became obsolete, and now we have opportunity for complete replanning of Gaza based on a modern concepts of urban planning, smart infrastructure, and sustainable communities. In our thinking of planning, we emphasize on the local ownership. We don't accept plans coming from foreign countries. For example, Trump Rivera plans, other plans not accepted. We insist that to have our own plan, local ownership of the planning and reconstruction. And so far, we have a good plan called Gaza Phoenix Plan, developed by the Palestinian experts from Gaza, West Bank, and diaspora. Also, we insist on the community participation and, of course, aligning our plans with the UN SDGs. On the communities level, sustainable communities, in this concept, we put people at the core of this process. And by the way, Gaza is advanced. Some people think Gaza now is devastated. We don't have much of expertise. No, Gaza has very talented people, And as I recall, because of Gaza has so we have in Gaza we have so many experiences dealing with conflicts. When Haiti earthquake took place, UN sent Gaza engineers to manage the rebels in Haiti. Many engineers from Gaza went to Afghanistan to manage conflict there. Same to Somalia and Sudan and other places. So we have good skilled people in Gaza. Before the war, we adopted a human-centered approach in planning, and many engineers in Gaza got trained on the human-centered and started producing some urban design based on the human-centered approach. Also, after the war, 2014, we believed in community participation. We established 15 local community committees in Gaza, and I was the advisor. I trained these committees on how to deal with the emergency preparedness and what to do in case of emergency. And also, we trained hundreds of volunteers, and we trained CBOs what to do, what to act during crisis. So we learned the lesson from the war 2014. We were not prepared, but following that, we did lots of preparation for for the other crises. Also, inclusivity is very important to us, and that's why we are concerned because most of the reconstruction plans developed in Europe and US was excluded Palestinians. So we insist that on the inclusivity, where all key actors and community members participate in the planning and implementation phase of community projects. We have concern regarding the governance of reconstruction because it's exclude people. We propose a governance of construction body that includes government, include private sector associations, include also civil society. Now, by inclusivity of community, we like to see community-led planning and decision making. And by the way, we have this concept endorsed in Gaza years ago. All strategic planning at the municipal level must involve the community. Otherwise, it will not be approved. All projects at community level should be approved by the community. So we are very strong supporter of community-led planning and decision making. We talk about green and affordable housing models. In the past, we used so many different models for temporary shelters. We used compressed earth uh, uh, clay. We used timber caravans. We used metal caravans. We used many solutions. And now we are exploring different options for the reconstruction. Urban agriculture, the speaker talked about it, and also we like to engage women and youth in the reconstruction. In the war 2014, we have a good model. We have a fund from the German to reconstruct damaged houses and to encourage and to empower the woman. The condition was for the husband who has the house is to co-sign with his wife. So the wife and husband they have shared ownership of the house, and this was appreciated by the community, and this led to woman empowerment in Gaza. So on our path towards reconstruction from previous experience, we learned a lot, and we are trying to improve the planning and the implementation itself. On the reconstruction, we are moving towards green reconstruction, circularity, and sustainability, and it's being discussed. And we have so many ideas how to implement circular economy in Gaza Strip. On smart infrastructure, every day we talk about different options on smart infrastructure. The way is to transform infrastructure from being a victim of conflict to a driver for recovery. In the energy, we talk about renewable energy, solar microgrids, uh, waste to energy systems, and we have so many ideas on the energy. Of course, using the wind energy, maybe it's not famous in Gaza, but mostly we talk about solar energy and converting the waste Gaza into energy system. On the water, we talk about smart desalination, grey water recycling. We talk about rain harvesting. By the way, this is nothing new to Gaza. We implemented so many initiatives, uh, these ideas, but now I think we need to implement it at large scale. On the transportation, now we are thinking about mass transport. For the first time of Gaza, we brought a sea taxi. It's like ferry transportation over the sea, and we have tramway in Gaza for the first time. and we have pedestrian-friendly urban design. We have so many ideas in Gaza. You will see it in a good plan for Gaza. All in all, the reconstruction of Gaza is not only about houses and infrastructure, but it's also about dignity and hope for a better future. Thank you very much. I will stop at this point. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Engineer Ma'moon, for these sharings interesting on the history of the history in Gaza, the construction, the reconstruction, destruction, and hopefully this time the reconstruction will be more sustainable. So now we are moving to the next speaker, Dr. Noor Azizi Yusuf. And Dr. Noor Azizi, he is the head of Living Lab from University Tan Hussein on Malaysia. So the floor is yours, Dr. Azizi.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning, very good night, and evening for us over here. First of all, I listened carefully from the beginning of the program, and I feel that we are very blessed in this country, and I hope the same thing, the same peace will goes to Gaza soon, inshallah. And for this today topic, I would like to thank you, Dr. Wissam, and everyone who make this thing success. So my topic today is more on innovative campus-based living lab for reconstruction support. All right. Basically, we started our MOA Living Lab program since 2018, and this is basically our campus. We got two campuses in the state of Johor, not too far away from Singapore. And to give you some impression that we are having about 18,000 students from about 22 countries. Of having like a living lab. Initially, we started from one of the district, and then we would like to make the district as a full city gallery, whereby we try to answer the needs of the city and the needs of the place, in respect to the innovation, research, and also it will be able to give some economy to the place. And I give you a brief about MOA Living Lab because I think this can be done, and I think over here I will share you a lot of photos, and I try to convince you that this could be happen in Gaza, and this could be done in maybe maybe University of Gaza or any universities around there, and you may be able to try it over there. And then it is quite important for the setup of Living Lab that what we are trying to do is actually try to reinforce the local plan and to provide solution for local problems. And I do believe for Gaza perspective, there's already existing needs in order to revive from this war zone into something more peaceful and more livable to everyone. And then this is MOA City. So MOA City is basically one of the Asian clean tourist city. We've been awarded several times, and we work a lot in trying to make it better. And then if you see, this is Malaysia, and then Singapore is just next to Johor. This is the state of Johor. And then basically MOA is the place that I circulate with red. All right, this is basically this district is having about more than slightly over than 300,000 population. And then we are working in several areas over here. And then we are targeting on several sustainable goals. And I do believe that several sustainable goals need to be achieved, for Gaza perspective. And then basically our activities is basically more on, having activities with the community and agencies, because in my point of view, these are the most vulnerable group of people. And then if we can do more about it, then we can give a little bit more to the people, say in this particular perspective for people of Gaza. And then these are some of our achievements. Okay, This is basically a part of my proposal in order to innovate campus-based living lab. Say, for example, in Gaza campus, Gaza University, what we could do, maybe we try to prioritize on our urgent needs. So in my point of view, one of the urgent needs is maybe sustainable housing and infrastructure. And then this got to be sustainable, affordable, and climate resilient structure. And I do believe, over there we got so many rubbles and then everything's, from that war situation. Maybe we will be able to use this as a part of the basic material. What we did in MUA, basically, we are working together with this conservation of historic building. There are quite many historic buildings over there in which it is not fit to be lived, but then we make our own R&D and also innovation in order to revive the structure and buildings. So these are some of the building I try to show you over here. This is the real building. So that if we want to make it as a living lab at the university, for example, we can be able to use some of the bomb structure, for example, or already ruined structure, and then try to improve the structure or use the material from that structure in order to redevelop a new structure. So these are some of the building before and actually after, and then now it can be used. And then I think the second one is maybe one of the most important thing is that water. So what I saw from the TV news, water is one of the main problem. So for that reason, we may need to think and act more on how to safeguard in respect to water, either clean water or how are we going to treat the wastewater, for example. And at this moment, actually, at our own, campus, in one of the campus, in Parit Raja campus, we actually achieved UNESCO Eco Hydrology demonstration site. And basically, we use our own site or our own university to showcase some of the development related to waters. Okay, say for example, in our perspective, not only for clean water, it's also for flood water management and also storm water management as well. If you go around our campus, you may be able to see many lakes because we are very close to the mean sea level, so that's why it's prone to flood. So in Gaza perspective, maybe water is more important for fresh water and also for livability. So in that particular situation, we may be able to replicate what we are doing over here at our campus, whereby we see it from other perspective, from flood perspective, from biodiversity perspective. But then for Gaza, we may be able to go for a livable perspective. If you go to our campus, you can see that some of this flora and fauna are here at our campus. And we also triggered some of the activity, in our campus. So then the same activity can be done at the campus over there. Say, for example, we are working on clean water, then we can have some activity related to how to get clean water, how to treat water, and then, how to safeguard clean water, for example. And also you can, conduct any other programs in associating with clean environment. Say, for example, upcycle your cooking oil or composting or other initiatives. And then number three, I think I would like to suggest that we need to do a little bit more on the renewable energy. I think it is quite consistent with several, presenters that presented their idea before. And in my point of view, it is quite important for us to decentralize the energy. Okay, and also it got to be sustainable, and we may need to think of how to store the energy. So as the president from the University of Gaza mentioned earlier, even though we are having very little energy, we still can be able to conduct the class, and then the class or the school can be continued, and then the learning can be continued as well. So I would like to share some of our activity at our campus. So this is at our campus. Some of our building is basically powered by solar, okay? And then also we also rank pretty good in respect to the clean energy, sustainable energy, and we did a little bit more on that. All right. And I think the fourth thing is that it is quite important for us to go for urban agriculture and food security. And over here, I think in that particular city area, I think the idea of having urban agriculture is relevant. And this is not only for war perspective, but also it can be used for daily life. Okay. So for that reason, so we may need to think of on how to have our local food production and also at and having limited space. These are some of the activities at our university. So we conducted several, activities related to green farming, and also we have our own indoor farming. But then if let's say we want to have a little bit bigger scale, maybe it's good enough for us to go for plant factory. All right, and this is my last recommendation for today. I just focus on five only to cater for only 10 minutes. So I think we need to give community support. So I do believe there are so many people out there in which may need to have some treatment in respect to trauma, recovery, and also community rebuilding. So I think we have a very good experience in this because most of our activity is with the community, and then I just show you some of the community whereby we are targeting to improve the waste and energy. We try not to burn a lot of this, agricultural waste. Instead, we try to process it and then make some other innovation or material. So I do believe the same process can be done in Gaza and at the university level or at the living lab level in the university environment. So this is what we did in MOA, and then this is a full scale. So if we can do it in a full scale situation, I do believe in the plot scale, I think it can be done. So these are some of other activity in which we try to develop many innovation and try to give some ideas, some new economy to the local people, and also involve many people from outside. I think that's all from me. I try to work out only 10 minutes
Thank
for
you.
that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Azizi, for these sharings from the Living Lab in Muar. So I think we move to the next speaker, Dr. Faiza Chiroz from the Malaysia Japan International Institute of Technology in Malaysia. So the floor is yours, Dr. Faiza.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and a very good evening. Okay, here currently in Malaysia is around 10:43 p.m. at night. Um, how can I share this slide? Sorry. Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Okay, so my name is Faiza. Okay, I'm from the one of the faculty in UTM called Malaysia Japan International Institute of Technology. Okay, today, I will be sharing insights on sustainable environmental governance and capacity building, drawing lessons from Malaysia experience and reflecting how these lessons can support green and resilient reconstruction in Gaza. So, when we talk about sustainability, we often imagine forests, rivers, and also ecosystem. But sustainability is not only ecological, it is deeply connected to governance, policy, and human dignity. So this means that environmental decisions, how we manage our resources, how we plan cities, how we recover from disasters, are fundamentally about protecting people and ensuring justice. So sustainability integrates the vision of SDGs, as we know, and the accountability promoted by ESG. For any society to be resilient, these two must work together: strong governance, transparent institution, and community participation. So let's look on the history on Malaysia environmental governance, okay, which has evolved through a series of national policies, beginning with the National Policy on the Environment in 2002. Since then, Malaysia has expanded to include the National Climate Change Policy, the National Biodiversity Policy, and many on later. And the upcoming one is the National Adaptation Plan. So this progressive development reflects a clear message. Malaysia see the environment not as a peripheral issue, but as national priority, tightly linked to development, resilience, and international commitments. So, as we know, policies is not enough. Okay, capacity building is the backbone of the sustainability of our governance. So basically, Malaysia strengthened capacity through technical training, okay, for engineers, government agencies, and also industries, academic partnership, okay, and most importantly, empowering young professionals and also students with skill in sustainability, okay. So let's move forward, okay. Gaza is not only simply facing conflict, we know that it is facing systematic environmental oppressions. So as we can see in the figure, okay, Gaza, we can see that the water system has been destroyed, waste piling without management, coastal ecosystem collapsing, agricultural lands contaminated, and entire urban areas turned into debris. So environmental devastation becomes a silent weapon because it affects air, soil, water, health, and most importantly, the future of the children in Gaza. Without environmental security, there can be no human security. So the next question is, how do we rebuild Gaza? I believe that in previous speakers or presenters, I can see that a lot of suggestion, and as you can see that there are suggestions also in my slides, okay, but I present here 6 key strategies, okay. For the first one, you need to understand the scale of the environmental devastation, whether it is in short, medium, and long-term impacts, because many effects such as groundwater contamination or biodiversity loss may only fully emerge decades later. So we need an interdisciplinary science-based assessment of environmental damage, okay? And this includes baseline data, ongoing monitoring, and also remote sensing study. But to move forward, we must also adopt green lens. Environmental assessment should guide climate resilience planning. The second one is transparent, inclusive, community-based decision-making. So this is very important, yeah, because environmental recovery cannot be imposed from the outside. Transparency and involving all stakeholders, especially local communities. When combined with green construction principle, this means forming green recovery reconstruction councils that include local engineers and also ecologists. Okay, so a participatory approach builds trust, strengthens governance, and ensure that reconstruction aligns with the community values, cultures, and also life realities. The third point is restoring habitats, ecosystem through nature-based solution. Okay, I will not touch this further because I believe that I can see that most of the speakers have touched this. The fourth one is education awareness and local capacity building. Okay, this is very crucial because Gaza need public awareness. Okay, they need environmental education and field-based training in developing green skills. Okay, and the fifth one is war remnant clearance and also circular waste management. This is one of the biggest challenge, which is clearing the massive volume of debris. Okay, but rather than viewing this purely as a burden, green reconstruction reframe it as an opportunity for circular economy solutions. This will also reduce environmental impact, creates jobs, and lower the carbon cost of reconstruction. Remember that a green reconstruction is not luxury, it is a survival strategy. And the last one is the sustainable infrastructure and biodiversity sensitive development. And please note that rebuilding should not repeat past vulnerables, instead of create a Gaza that is cleaner, greener, and more resilient. Okay, moving forward. We know that Malaysia has always stood for justice, and our role does not end with the statement. So these are four major ways that we can contribute. The first one is consistent diplomatic support. The second one is offering technical expertise to help rebuild Gaza. The third one is sustainable urban planning, okay, because we do have green technical models. And the last one, education capacity building and also knowledge transfer. So I just want to share with you what do we have, the program that we have in MJIIT. So basically, we have two programs. Okay, the first one is Master of Sustainable System. Okay, this master program is available in conventional and also ODL mode, online distance learning. Okay, so it focuses on sustainability governance, circular economy, and also ESG. And this is suitable for those interested in environmental policy and also sustainability. And the second one, we do offer master in disaster management. However, for the time being, we only offer conventional mode, and ODL mode expected to start in 2027. So what do we teach in master in disaster risk management? We focus on disaster preparedness, resilient infrastructure, climate adaptation, and also recovery. So in conclusion, sustainable environmental governance is not only about protecting nature, it's about defending human dignity. So Malaysia's experience show that policy, capacity building, and community empowerment are essential pillars of resilience. And for Gaza, environmental recovery is not just reconstruction, it is restoration of life, justice, and hope. Let's move forward, not only with sympathy for Gaza's suffering, but with commitment, science, and long-term green strategies that ensure true recovery for the people and for the land. With that, thank you and Assalamualaikum.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Faiza, for the sharings, all these important knowledge on disaster management and environmental sustainability. So now we are moving to the next speaker, Dr. Jawad Al Kharraz. He is the CEO and founder of WISN from France. So the floor is yours, Dr. Jawad.
I cannot activate my.
Dr. Jawad.
Okay. Yes, I'm unable. Do you hear me? Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very
Yes,
much
Doctor.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, and sorry for not being on time. I'm here in Brazil at COP30, and as you can guess, a lot of meeting collapsing. So thank you so much again, Dr. Wissam, and the organization for having me. It's really close to my heart, and I guess to our heart, to talk about Gaza and the reconstruction of Gaza. I have personally, sorry, to my heart, because I very often when I was working in Medrek at the Middle East Desalination Research Center in Oman. I used it to come to Gaza in coordination with the Palestinian Water Authority, but also with the Gaza universities like Azhar University and Islamic universities. Unfortunately, I couldn't provide prepare PowerPoints. Sorry for that, but I will just tell you about my experience and my perspective or suggestions on how can we contribute to this effort of reconstruction from the perspective of someone working in the water and energy and climate areas. I'm now water energy climate expert network, which sort of organized in Morocco. In the face of Gaza's ongoing humanitarian and environmental crisis, exacerbated obviously by this war, or let's call things by its name, I think it's genocide, resources scarcity, which was already before these 2 years, climate challenges. So we must envision reconstruction not as a mere repair, but as an opportunity for transformative and integrated development. Water, energy, and climate are, as you know, interconnected in this nexus. Reliable access to clean water depends on sustainable energy in Gaza, so they were relying on desalination. Unfortunately, the majority of the infrastructure destroyed during this war. Allowing me, I will share some practical insights from past initiative and propose some forward-looking solutions to support Gaza's recovery. So my journey in addressing Gaza's water challenges began during my time at the Middle East Desalination Research Center in Oman, where I had the privilege of working closely with local partners to build capacity and infrastructure. I frequently visit Gaza to coordinate with the Palestinian Water Authority on training programs for technicians focused on the operation and maintenance of desalination plants. These hands-on sessions were crucial as desalination is, as you know, lifeline in Gaza, where groundwater is often saline or contaminated. I guess now the situation is worse. Freshwater resources are severely limited. So we need to find solutions that are sustainable and cost-effective. For instance, we promoted solar power desalination systems, which reduce reliance on reliable grid power and lower operational costs in an energy-scarce environment. So these efforts were not just technical; they built local expertise, empowering communities to manage their own resources amid frequent disruptions. So beyond infrastructure, we invested heavily in research and development in Gaza universities, particularly, as I mentioned, Al-Azhar University and the Islamic University of Gaza. Through my center, we provide scholarships for master PhD students, along with research grants to tackle pressing groundwater management, desalination technologies, and the reuse of treated wastewater for agriculture and non-potable purposes. So this grant enabled the students to conduct innovative studies, such as optimizing membrane technologies for desalination or assessing wastewater treatment for safe irrigation, solutions that directly address Gaza's water scarcity, where over 97% of groundwater is unfit for human consumption. The impact so was profound. This program not only advances scientific knowledge, but also fostered the generation of skilled professionals committed to their community's resilience. Unfortunately, I know that many lost their lives the last 2 years, and obviously all what we have been doing, probably we need to start from the scratch almost. However, the recent, obviously, the widespread destruction have underscored how been decimated, universities destroyed, and access to basic water and energy disrupted. So rebuilding must prioritize this nexus, restoring desalination plants with renewable integrations, PVs in particular, reviving R&D pipelines, and expanding capacity building to ensure long-term self-sufficiency. In a peace-oriented framework, this initiative promotes social cohesion by addressing shared needs, reducing tensions over resources, and creating jobs in green sectors. On the other hand, while leading this, the Regional Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency in the last years, in Egypt, policies that renewables development and deployment and energy efficiency. And being now at COP30 in Belém, I believe we can advocate for the reconstruction of Gaza. Yesterday, I had interesting discussions with colleagues from UNIDO and other organizations about what to be done immediately in Gaza, but also in Syria and Sudan. This my I mean experience in Oman while based in Oman, as I said, I had the opportunity to launch the Oman Humanitarian Desalination Challenge, an international competition offering $700,000 prize to innovators who could develop compact, portable desalination devices that could be deployed in humanitarian crisis areas. This actually response was overwhelming. Actually, we witnessed groundbreaking innovations. We received amazing contributions from amazing organizations from MIT, from Korea, from Europe, very tough criteria. The cost of the unit shouldn't exceed $20, so it can be easily distributed to the humanitarian agencies, etc. It should produce at least 3 liters of fresh water by day. It should be also working at least for 1 month continuously, the chemicals or additions, etc., etc. So this make, I mean, really the competition very challenging, but really it was a catalyst of innovations, as I said. So in parallel, we launched a sort of research path challenge in a way that we give grants of to develop what could be sort of beta version of this solution in a way to produce 120 liters per day of desalinated water. So that was also interesting to see some interesting solution. So what made this challenge successful with its focus on practicality, devices had to be affordable, easy to deploy, and resilient in harsh conditions, like the case of Gaza. So it's brought together engineers, startups, academics from around the world, as I said, sparking collaboration that extend beyond the competition. So today, some of these technologies are being piloted in disaster-prone regions, proving that incentivized innovation can accelerate solutions where traditional approaches fail. Now, the time is to launch similar initiative tailored to Gaza, like a Gaza Water and Energy Innovation Challenge or something similar. This could offer sort of substantial prizes, perhaps starting at $500,000 or more, funded through international partnerships for developing scalable solutions in the water energy climate nexus. Imagine compact renewable power distribution kits for emergency use, smart grids for energy efficient water distribution, or climate resilient wastewater system that supports urban agriculture, etc. So by involving universities, local entrepreneurs, and governments, we would also rebuild the knowledge ecosystem, aligning with our forum's objective of cross-sector collaboration and investment in green infrastructure. So such a challenge would be a peace-oriented at its core. It empowers local communities, reduces dependency on external aid, and fosters international solidarity. We could partner with organizations like the Palestinian Water Authority and many local organizations like universities, but also international organizations, as I said, represented here today, and make it a reality. So in conclusion, Gaza's reconstruction demands a nexus approach that integrates water security, renewable energy security as well, could be, I mean, ensured by renewables, and climate adaptation to build a resilient, sustainable communities. And from my infrastructure support and academic grant to the spirit of the Oman challenge I highlighted, we have seen what is possible. So let's commit to launching a Gaza-specific innovation challenge as a catalyst for change, turning crisis into opportunity for peace and prosperity. So thank you for your attention. I apologize again for not being able to provide or prepare a PowerPoint, but I hope my talk was still interesting, and hopefully together we can shape a brighter future for Gaza. I was listening to the previous presentation, amazing recommendations. So I really salute all of you for your initiative and for the will to help and support this area. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much. I think we lost Dr. Wissam, but thank you so much for that insightful presentation and talk. There's so much dialogue happening. I just want to give a huge shout out to our speakers and also to all of the participants. This is an interactive event. We are following all of your comments here on the StreamYard that are being presented over there on LinkedIn. So, and I know that we have Dr. Noha Mustafa, who will be joining us next.
Yeah, hello everyone. I wonder if you can see my presentation.
Not yet.
Okay. Can you see now?
Yes. And if you hover over it, you can move from slide to slide, I think.
Yes. Okay, so hello everyone, good afternoon or good evening, and thank you for inviting me to this important webinar. Today I will be discussing the critical role played by humanitarian logistics and supply chain management in post-conflict environments. So post-conflict recovery is about more than stopping violence. It requires rebuilding societies, stabilizing populations, and enabling the return to everyday life. While humanitarian aid is often visible through shelters, medical care, and food distribution, the system that makes these possible is the logistics and supply chains, and are less visible, but of course essential. So reconstruction is not only about rebuilding damaged structures, it is about rebuilding lives, communities, and the foundations for a stable future. In Gaza, where infrastructure has been on purpose and repeatedly damaged, and where geopolitical and humanitarian constraints are deeply intertwined, logistics here play a decisive role in determining the speed, scale, and success of recovery. So we need to understand the post-conflict environment. Post-conflict settings are typically characterized by several factors, such as damaged infrastructure, disruption of markets and services, population displacement, insecurity and political instability, and limited access to safe water, healthcare, and livelihoods. These factors create conditions where humanitarian logistics must operate under extreme constraints. Effective supply chains enable essential goods and services to reach people during this fragile transition period. So, typical logistics is about planning, sourcing, transport, and storage of products. And we use logistics for every product we use in our daily life, from the production until it is delivered to our hands. So the purpose of logistics is to ensure materials reach sites efficiently, to the right location on the right time, and in the right quantity. However, in terms of humanitarian logistics, it's a bit different because it refers to the procurement, transportation, storage, and disruption of key and basic resources such as food, water, shelter materials, medical supplies, and equipment to populations who are affected by crisis. So, in post-conflict situations, logistics objectives evolve from immediate life-saving responses towards supporting long-term recovery, livelihood, and development. The scope expands to include construction materials, educational supplies, energy systems, and tools for rebuilding infrastructure. So if we can compare between humanitarian logistics versus development logistics, reconstruction logistics blend the two together. Humanitarian logistics focus on rapid, quick delivery of life-saving goods like food, shelter, water, and medical aid. But development logistics focus on long-term building, construction materials, infrastructure, equipment, and educational supplies. So, of course, the early phase prioritize the humanitarian needs with stability, with time, as a priority shifts to long-term development. And of course, Gaza requires both simultaneously because it lacks both now. So making, coordinating, and planning is more complex and more sophisticated. So what we need to know about logistics in the area of reconstruction. Here, when we talk about logistics in reconstruction, we refer to planning, sourcing, transporting, storing, and distributing of materials, equipment, and resources necessary for rebuilding. So many questions need to be answered. For example, where do we obtain the building materials? How can we transport them into Gaza? How do we ensure they reach the construction site safely and efficiently, given that the roads are all damaged? How do we track and prioritize the needs? In this sense, the logistics is the backbone of all rebuilding efforts. So the key roles of logistics and supply chain in post-conflict settings include many items. For example, the rapid delivery of essential aid, because speed saves life here. Humanitarian logistics ensure immediate relief. Food, medicine, water, blood, shelter reaches the affected populations quickly. This requires contingency planning, pre-positioned stock, and fast deployment capabilities. Also for restoring basic services, because post-conflict environment like Gaza experience a collapse in health and sanitation services. Logistics here supports, of course, with medical equipment, vaccines, and blood supplies and spare parts, and also distributes water purification system and generation and generators and fuel. For enabling shelter and infrastructure reconstruction, supply chains here facilitate access to construction materials, tools, and machinery. Planning transport routes, staging areas, and warehousing is critical, where roads, airports, and ports are also damaged. Supporting livelihood recovery, because humanitarian supply chains deliver agricultural tools, seeds, livestock, and vocational supplies. Doing so enables families to regain self-sufficiency without depending on aid for a long time. For market rehabilitation and supply chain restart, because over time, humanitarian organizations transition from direct provision to market-based approach, such as programming, such as cash-based programming, such as vouchers or local procurement. So these strategies help reactivate local markets, strengthen small business, small shops, and restore communities' purchasing power. For information management and coordination, of course, it's a key part because supply chain gather and share data on needs, stock levels, distribution, and gaps. So coordination among NGOs, governments, military actors, and private companies ensure resources are used efficiently. So there are many major challenges in terms of humanitarian logistics in general. For example, damaged or missing infrastructure, because roads, bridges, and ports, warehouses are destroyed. This complicates transportation and distribution, requiring alternative routes or temporary storage. Security and access restriction, because conflict may persist at low level or armed groups may control movement. So access negotiations and risk management become everyday logistic tasks. Of course, a fragmented governance, because local institutions may be now weak or absent, so coordinating with multiple humanitarian across can be difficult without shared standards and strong leadership. For resource scarcity and donor limitation, because funding is usually short-term, it may be unpredictable, given that many countries already have their own problems. So this affects the planning, especially for long-term reconstruction and market recovery. And for limited local capacity, because skills shortage in transportation after the genocide, many skillful people and skillful workers are now gone, so or injured. So this affects, of course, or slow down the recovery efforts. Importing external expertise is necessary, especially at the first stage, but local capacity development is essential for sustainability. So some strategies for effective humanitarian supply chain include the pre-positioning and the preparedness, like stockpiling goods near high-risk regions to ensure rapid deployment, logistics planning exercise, and partnerships to increase readiness and response. local procurement and market integration, because when feasible, sourcing goods locally can reduce transportation time and cost, support the economy, and strengthen the markets. Coordination and information sharing through cluster systems, joint operation centers, and unified centralized procurement to reduce duplication and to improve resource allocation. Capacity building and training for local logisticians, warehouse operations, and transport managers to ensure long-term resilience. Post-conflict supply chain should aim to leave behind stronger local systems. A very important area for effective humanitarian supply chain is using technology and innovation. So, because it can help improve decision making, to reduce fraud, and increase visibility across the supply chain. So, tools, for example, like GIS mapping, using drones for assessment, mobile apps for tracking, blockchain for supply transparency, remote sensing, digital platform, 3D printing, renewable energy, and using prefab structures. All of these can help a lot for rapid and also for short and medium term recovery. So for the context of Gaza, of course, what I said previously can be applied for almost any community with a post-conflict environment. But for Gaza, it's more complicated because there is the dense population, the damaged infrastructure, the limited borders and restricted movements, and also the fuel, electricity, and material shortage. So these constraints make logistics not just a technical field, but a strategic and humanitarian complexity in terms of Gaza. Extra challenges are related to the limited entry points. So Gaza's border crossing, both land or by the sea, are controlled by the occupation. So limited entry points create bottlenecks, leading to long delays and unpredictable access to needed goods. I'm from Egypt, so we share the borders with Gaza, and usually, unfortunately, the crossing is closed from the other side. So even when Egypt has ready supplies, ready aid to go into Gaza, it is blocked from the occupation side. So another key challenge is the material restriction, because many construction materials are categorized are dual use, meaning they can be restricted for security reasons, such as cement, steel, and certain machinery. They require special approval, slowing the rebuilding efforts. Also, the damaged roads and facilities, and inside Gaza, roads, bridges, and storage facilities have been damaged. This deliberately, of course. So this complicates the internal distribution of material once they arrive, requiring temporary roads, decentralized stockpiles, and creative routing. Another, of course, issue is the fuel and energy shortage, because it is essential, and it has, of course, shortage limit everything from trucking capacity to opening cranes and cement mixers. Also, it is needed to coordinate across multiple actors. So dozens of actors are included, such as international agencies, local authorities, NGOs, donors, and contractors. So without centralized coordination, efforts can overlap or conflict, wasting precious time and resources. So how to use logistics as enabler here? Despite all the challenges we mentioned, logistics can not just be a facilitator, but also a catalyst for rebuilding. Here are key enabling functions like sourcing and procurement, because reconstruction requires massive quantities of supplies like medical equipment, concrete, steel, food, household supplies. Logistics ensure reliable supply chains, sometimes international, sometimes regional, with contingency planning for delays. Second is the transport network design, because efficient vehicle routing minimizes delays and damage for goods. This might include using alternative crossings, pre-positioning supplies, or employing modular roads. Warehouse and storage management, because storage must be secure, climate appropriate, and located where goods can be distributed rapidly and fairly. So mobile depots can help to bridge gaps when permanent facilities are damaged. tracking and transparency and accountability. Digital tools such as GPS tracking, blockchain ledgers, and inventory management software can ensure that materials reach the intended recipients, reduce corruption, and build trust with the donors. Also for skilled workforce and local capacity building, efficient logistics depend on trained personnel. So investing in local professionals from truck drivers to supply chain managers help ensure sustainability and community ownership. Of course, it requires huge collaboration across and international collaboration. For example, international agencies like United Nations, like international NGOs to provide funding, materials, and technical expertise. The neighboring countries who can offer critical transit routes, local authorities and communities to identify the priority and ensure that the distribution is effective and equitable, and the private sector partners who can contribute capacity, innovation, and supply chain expertise. So successful collaboration requires transparency, data sharing, and the depoliticization of logistics to make sure that everything here is only based on the humanitarian point of view. So for the transition from relief to development, post-conflict recovery here involves shifting from emergency response to long-term reconstruction. This includes reinforcing national logistics network, localizing supply chain roles, supporting private sector reactivation, long-term infrastructure investment, building governmental capacity, and training local professionals. A successful transition restores public services, creates livelihood, and reduces dependence on international aid. So, in summary, to conclude, humanitarian logistics and supply chain management are central to rebuilding post-conflict environments. They can ensure rapid delivery of life-saving assistance, restoration of essential services, rebuilding of housing and infrastructure, revitalization of markets and livelihoods, strengthening of national systems. Although often unseen, logistics enables every stage of post-conflict recovery. Experts in logistics and supply chain are key persons in the planning for the after war, from emergency relief to sustainable development. Strengthening supply chains builds not only the physical infrastructure, but also trust, stability, and resilience. In Gaza, efficient logistics will be the difference between life and death, between slow recovery and renewed hope. As we look to the future, strengthening supply chain, building capacity, and fostering the collaboration will be essential steps towards lasting reconstruction and resilience. Thank you for your time. And thank you for including me again in that. And of course, I'm happy to communicate with everyone. This is my LinkedIn account. Thank you again. Thank you, Dr. Wissam and Ms. Michal for this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Noha Mustafa. And really such an important place from us to even start from, as far as just a mental space to build upon. As you mentioned, it's not just about the reconstruction, but it's about building those communities as a whole. So thank you very much. And we have our next speaker today is Engineer Aya El Halabibi. And she is founder and consultant in Rejuvenating Space Solutions out of Canada. And she will be guiding us on healing through design. So I will pass it over to you, Aya.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Can you hear me okay? Perfect.
Yeah.
Let me share my screen. Okay, this should be okay for everyone. You can see my screen now. Perfect. First of all, thank you for having me today, and I am pleased to just hear all these conversations and all these thoughts. I think we're talking about a topic that is necessary at the same time. Any human who has a heart has been touched and impacted by this topic. So today I'm here to talk about the first thought that I was when seeing all this deconstruction that is happening and all what is happening in Gaza. Like all my heart was thinking, how can we heal? How can we heal all what has happened? And the topic today, architecture, community spaces, and healing through design. While it will not be as data informed as other topics, and at the same time, it does have that soft side of thinking about the luxury of well-being that I think people in Gaza has missed. But still, it will talk about what can we do based on science and environmental psychology. So when we speak sustainability and we talk about the three pillars, environment, social, and economic, I always mention we have to talk about environment and health. Environment, we can protect it, but then there's the user, the human within these structures that we are designing for. As so, all what we're talking about here and the healing is talking about life, dignity, well-being, and healing of the human. So that's where sustainability is the baseline, and beyond it is what we do for healing and for health in general. Oops, sorry. Just to put things in what it is, we are talking about a psychological crisis within an urban crisis. We know that the built environment was affected, was impacted, but at the same time, what really has happened is that psychologically, there's a lot of inner issues that has been impacted due to all the deconstruction or destruction that has been happening for the past 2 years. What this means, it has affected emotional stability, sense of safety, ability to form routines, even to have a sense of normal life. What one of the speakers mentioned, that Gaza is now back 70 years before. So it's really, there's a lot of things that have changed. Yes, it needed resilience, but then at the same time, it did impact what the definition of feeling of safety is for Gaza's residents. Also, the children's development has been, I know we all have these, like, how a child grows and what milestones they should get. I think children in Gaza had a lot of destruction to that normal definitions that we have. And then the social cohesion, holistically, the community has been disrupted. So architecture and urban and how we build does impact that and can respond to this reality in a healing way, to stop, to change the chaos that has been endured by the community. What environmental psychology tells us that environment actually can reduce stress or trigger it, can support trauma healing or intensify it. We can also work on social ties just by the environment that surrounds us, or make people feel isolated, create the feeling of dignity, or at the opposite, reinforce helplessness. And finally, it could also influence long-term mental health, which is how it starts day by day. And we can't talk about environmental psychology and not define health. Even health is defined by multiple factors that are relevant to the built environment. So we can see that behaviors and environment impact most, let's say, along with medical care, but almost 75% of the definition of health is impacted by environmental aspects, as well as behaviors which can be influenced by the environment surrounding. And that's just normal without the case of having a war or post-war condition. So we're talking about environmental psychology, about psychology of people, about the health, and design can have a tool to be the first aid to support healing. This also brings me to the restorative city approach. The restorative city is where we are utilizing the urban content or the urban environment intentionally to support the human health, emotional well-being, social connection between residents, reducing any kind of stressors, looking at multiple, let's say the restorative city book that I'm referring to, that has all these concepts, does define cities from looking at 7 different angles, looking at it from an inclusive perspective: green, blue, how much greenery, how much water features are included, sensory, what the experience is the city offering, neighborly, how is it socially, are the community connected, how active is the city and affording activity to its residents, and then even how playable it is, how there are some aspects that could influence and encourage playing and happiness within the community. So that does align to multiple principles that go within the idea of healing and how design influence it. So we have the trauma-informed design principles, which in order to rebuild for well-being, cities would integrate these principles that include safety, control, calmness, connection, and hope. These can be done through like the paths through the city, understanding the city and not making it more stressful to move around with predictable layouts, the lighting, the feeling that you're safe. There's nothing that you cannot, you're not predicting or you cannot see that would have the influence on safety, the control, being able to choose what to do, what not to do, which path to go, the spaces that are adjustable or used for multi-purposes, and then also having privacy when needed. These are things that are within the urban context, and they help with trauma situation. As well, having making sure there's no the levels of acoustics and natural materials and visual stability, things that help people feel calm. The colors in the images over here are an example. The connection between the community spaces, courtyards, shared gardens, all these connect the people to nature and help them feel that they are in a calm, safe space. As well, colors, light, nature, and places of joy are all connected to the trauma-informed design principles. This could be applied to any design. This should be the guide, the Bible or the book we're using to inform any decisions in design to make sure we know that we're dealing with a traumatic incident that affected a full community. With that, along with it, we have the power of community spaces. How can we use that to have emotional recovery, social support networks? People can gather. People have been living in tents and have been living in situations that are abnormal, but they also have been trying to gather because that's where they feel solidarity. They feel that they're connected to each other, and enduring this challenges, all the challenges together makes them stronger. So community hubs, community spaces are part of the healing, part of that collective social connection that helps in healing and at learning as well, of course. Within these community hubs, children and healing through space is essential. Children need to actually learn how to be children again with predictable, safe zones, nature-based and sensory play where they can try and use their hands and let go of that trauma and that stress that they have endured. Of course, with studying sunlight and ventilation, I know there's a lot of rubbish in there and there's a lot of residuals from all this bombing. But at the same time, at least we can build hope within that, use these to rebuild in a way that is sustainable, but at the same time that helps healing, connecting with nature. This is just an example of on a project where like, how can we design for kids to actually be kids and also use nature? There is like concepts of playful design, loose parts, regenerative approach, where kids can, with very simple things, play and create, use the sight and the senses to actually heal within playing, which is one of major concepts in healing approaches. And then also the woman has endured a lot. We know that they've taken a lot of effort calming their families, and then I mean there's so many men that were killed, and it's we know it's traumatic. But women do have these they actually are the supporters of the community, and they need places to meet, rejuvenate. So having community places for women, safe, shaded walking paths where they can just chat and walk, have community kitchens, multi-purpose rooms, or spaces for gatherings and peer support between women, and also see their children. We know that children have been, they don't want to leave them alone, but also have, in general, privacy sensitive layouts to help support their needs of just refreshing and renovating their whole psyche after all of this. If women get better, their mental health get better, that's definitely has positive impact to all men and children around. So when we talk about a vision of for rebuilding Gaza that does support healing, we want homes that protect their dignity again, streets that feel safe for them, children who can play freely, not be killed just by playing, women who can gather without fear and can actually just calm down and communicate. Nature is there, accessible. We know Gaza has the sea and has a lot of beautiful nature that was before the war. And then having these community hubs that anchor daily life. And of course, with sustainable design that would support resilience and ensure that we're utilizing all resources that nature can offer us. And I think when we take that to application, connecting it to restorative cities, these are just some major steps, let's say, ensuring safety and predictability, restoring dignity, creating spaces for connection, supporting emotional regulation, and rebuilding identity and belonging within the community, and then integrating nature and sensory comfort. These are the concepts that I covered. But then also there are design thinking tools that we can use. This is just a process I worked on another project for an innovative solution. So understanding what we want, the goals that we want, thinking in a systems thinking way, how each decision would impact the different aspects connected, and then identifying these challenges that we have within the community and connecting them to solutions and within the sustainability pillars, and then connecting the challenges to applications where we can actually think what could serve, like what solutions could be served by or could serve what challenges. And then from there, taking it into the reverse theory of change. When we think about what outcome we want and what can we put to get into that outcome. These are just examples. They're not specific to Gaza, but I wanted this as a process of thinking. If we can start to think, what do I want as a outcome, and what factors would support it, and then back at that point we can connect it to design and environmental psychology as solutions that could be applicable. The question of what we must prioritize, I think starting with dignified, climate sensitive temporary shelters could be a start, because there is no solution of rebuilding a city that could happen in a day. We want something as a start that could happen, connect people at the beginning, and then start with rapid modular community hubs, also to start that healing, the community healing process. The children can play, families can gather. I was just reading a post about a man who doesn't know where he can sleep because there's no shelter, no tent that he can go to. It's horrific what is going in there. And then shaded public spaces, micro parks, just starting to find places of refuge in between this destruction that is all around. And then also trauma-informed schools and clinics whenever possible to be built. Community-led design in every neighborhood. Let the community part of the design decision. Let them participate. Let them redesign and reimagine their city, and connect that with nature. And then use viable options, simple low-cost well-being interventions where possible. Gaza's reconstruction cannot be reduced just to engineering or numbers. It's starting with the human, rebuilding the human dignity and mental well-being. And architecture is part of that healing. It's not neutral. It can harm actually, or it can heal. It has its impact, and we can play a role in that. So we can choose healing. And thank you. And I'm happy to connect with everyone.
Thank you so much for that presentation. Really insightful. I think it's a testament to each and every speaker today that we still have just such an engaged audience that's staying with us. We usually have an hour and a half program. Now we're over 2 hours. And so I just want to just say thank you to all of our speakers today. I think hopefully Dr. Wissam will be back in just 1 second. But as we go into the closing here, I just want to just say how emotional this was, just as a viewer and a participant. But I think the next steps are just how do we take all of this information and turn it into action? You know, what are those very first steps? And to continue this conversation on LinkedIn, I'll say if everybody can share this program with your connections so we can continue to talk back and forth and find solutions that will be very on the ground as we move into this next stage for sure. And I want to give a huge shout out to Dr. Wissam, who brought us all together. This was his vision of how we could have this program, and he brought in the absolute perfect speakers today, really with such varied backgrounds and experiences. And I think one of the quotes that really stuck with me from the professor, which is, every stone tells the story of resilience in Gaza. And so as we move forward in these next steps, let's learn from everyone who is in Gaza, who has experienced every hardship and continues to experience every hardship, and that we take those lessons to be able to help in this next phase. So I want to say thank you again to all of our esteemed speakers. And it has been such an honor, and we look forward to our continued dialogue and working with each of you. And I see Dr. Wissam might be back with us if he has a closing message that he would like to share. And Dr. Wissam, I don't know if you can hear us and if you're with us. And it's, oh, here he comes. And it's the challenge, I know, of being in different parts of the world. Go ahead, Dr. Wissam.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michelle. And I would like again to thank all the speakers and the audience for their engagement along these 2 hours, which is something beyond the normal for these webinars. So we'd like to thank you all for these interesting ideas and concepts, and hopefully things will come positively on and reality in the future to be sustainable and peace-oriented for the people in Gaza and Palestine and the region as well. So have a good time, everyone, and we'll see you next week in our the next webinar. That will be the 30th International Talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you.